Good morning, fifth grade. We're going to continue reading in our novel, Esperanza Rising. But before we get started, we have a quick write. It says, how did Esperanza respond during her train ride to California? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the vocabulary. Our focus question for today is, how does Esperanza's attitude towards her new life in her move to California differ from the other characters? What can we infer about her based on these differences in attitude? Our focus standard for today is being able to compare and contrast Esperanza and Miguel's outlooks and their life experiences. And again, we're going to be re-looking at that extended metaphor in the text. Our vocabulary words today are beggar, and that is someone who asks for money or food. They might be homeless. Number 2 is crippled. That's someone who has a disability where they're unable to walk. And the last one is intimate, and that's a personal or private conversation. All right, go ahead and turn the page, and we're on page 72 in our book. And today we're going to be using our CSPS strategy as we learn about Esperanza's experience on the train. Clickety, clickety, clickety. The sound of the locomotive was monotonous as they traveled north. The hours seemed like Mama's never-ending ball of thread unwinding in front of them. Each morning the sun peeked over one spur of the Sierra Madre, sometimes shining through the pine trees. In the evening it set on the left, sinking behind another peak, and leaving pink clouds and purple mountains against the darkening sky. When people got on and off, Esperanza and the others changed their seats. When the car filled up, they sometimes stood. When the car was less crowded, they put their valises under their heads and tried to sleep on the benches. At every stop, Miguel and Alfonso hurried off the train with a package. From the window, Esperanza watched them go to a water trough, unwrap an oilcloth, and dampen the bundle inside. Then they would wrap it in the oilcloth again, board the train, and put it carefully back into Alfonso's bag. "What's in there?" Esperanza finally asked Alfonso as the train pulled away from yet another station. "You will see when we get there." He smiled, and a knowing look passed between him and Miguel. Esperanza was annoyed with Alfonso for taking the package on and off the train without telling her what was inside. She was tired of Hortensia's humming and weary of watching Mama crochet, as if nothing unusual were happening to them. But most of all, she was bored with Miguel's constant talk of trains. He chatted with the conductors, he got off at every stop and watched the engineers. He studied the train schedule and wanted to report it all to Esperanza. He seemed as happy as Esperanza was irritable. We'll stop right there because we have information about our character and our setting. We know that Esperanza is tired of being on the train and everyone is getting on her nerves. In box 1A, we would write, Esperanza is tired of being on the train and everyone is getting on her nerves. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for this setting. And on page 72, we have information about our setting. In box 2A, we would write, Esperanza is traveling north across Mexico towards the United States on a train. She passes mountains and valleys along the way. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. Go ahead and turn the page. We're at the top of page 74. When I get to California, I'm going to work for the railroad, said Miguel, looking anxiously toward the horizon. They had spread pieces of brown paper in their laps and were eating pepinos, cucumbers sprinkled with salt, and ground chiles. I'm thirsty. Are they selling juice in the other car? Asked Esperanza. I would have worked at the railroad in Mexico, continued Miguel, as if Esperanza had not tried to change the subject. But it's not easy to get a job in Mexico. You need una palanca, a lever, to get a job at the railroads. I had no connections, but your father did. Since I was a small boy, he gave me his word that he would help me. And he would have kept his promise. He always kept his promises to me. At the mention of Papa, Esperanza felt that sinking feeling again. She looked at Miguel. He quickly turned his head away from her and looked hard out the window, but she saw in that his eyes were damp. She had never thought about how much her papa had meant to Miguel. It dawned on her that even though Miguel was a servant, Papa may have thought of him as the son he never had. But Papa's influence was gone. What would happen with Miguel's dreams now? And in the United States? She asked quietly. I hear in the United States you do not need un palanca, that even the poorest man can become rich if he works hard enough. All right, we'll stop right there because we have information about our first problem and solution. Our first problem in box 3A, we would write, Esperanza realizes that Miguel's future was also affected by Papa's death. Because Papa cannot use his influence to get Miguel his dream job on the railroad. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 4. And even though Papa's influence is gone, Miguel's moving to the United States and he's hopeful that if he works hard enough, he'll get his dream job. So in box 4A, we would write, Miguel believes that in the United States, hard work will make him successful. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. All right, we're going to be introduced to a new character in a new setting. And we're going to do our second round of CSPS about Carmen. We're in the middle of page 75. They had been on the train for 4 days and nights when a woman got on with a wire cage containing 6 red hens. The chickens squawked and cackled, and when they flapped their wings, tiny russet feathers floated around the car. The woman sat opposite Mom and Hortensia, and within minutes she had told them that her name was Carmen, that her husband had died and left her with 8 children, and that she had been at her brother's house helping his family with a new baby. Would you like dulces, sweets? She asked Esperanza, opening her bag. Esperanza looked at Mama, who smiled and nodded her approval. All right, we'll stop right there because we have information about our new character, Carmen. In box 1B, we would write, Carmen is a poor woman whose husband also died and left her with 8 children. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the new setting. And we know that Esperanza has been on the train for 4 days and she's still traveling north to the United States. In box 2B, we would write, Esperanza has been on the train traveling to the United States for 4 days and 4 nights. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. We're on page 76. Esperanza hesitantly reached inside and took out a square of coconut candy. Mama had never permitted her to take candy from someone she didn't know before, especially from a poor person. Senor, why do you travel with the hens? Asked Mama. I sell eggs to feed my family. My brother raises hens and he gave these to me. And you can support your large family that way? Asked Hortensia. Carmen smiled. I am poor, but I am rich. I have my children, I have my garden with roses, and I have my faith in the memory of those who have gone before me. What more is there? Hortensia and Mama smiled, nodding their heads, and after a few thoughtful moments, Mama was blotting away stray tears. The 3 women continued talking as the train passed fields of corn, orange orchards, and cows grazing on rolling hills. They talked as the train traveled through small towns with peasant children, ran after the caboose just for the sake of running. Soon Mama was confiding in Carmen, telling her all that had happened with Papa and Tia Louise. Carmen listened and made clucking noises like one of her hens, as if she understood Mama's and Esperanza's problems. Esperanza looked from Mama to Carmen to Hortensia. She was amazed how easily Carmen had plopped herself down and had plunged into intimate conversation. It didn't seem correct somehow. Mama had always been so proper and concerned about what was said and not said. In Aguas Calientes, she would have thought it was inappropriate to tell an egg woman their problems, yet now she didn't hesitate. "Mama," whispered Esperanza, taking on a tone she'd heard Mama use many times, "do you think it is wise to tell a peasant our personal business?" Mama tried not to smile. She whispered back, "It is all right, Esperanza, because now we are peasants too." Esperanza ignored Mama's comment. What was wrong with her? Had all of Mama's rules changed since they had boarded this train? We'll stop right there because we have information about our second problem. In box 3B, we would write, Esperanza is shocked that her mother would tell a peasant all of their personal business. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. We're at the top of page 78. When they pulled into Carmen's town, Mama gave her 3 of the beautiful lace carpetes she had made. "For your house," she said. Carmen gave Mama 2 chickens and an old shopping bag that she tied with string. "For your future," she said. Then Mama, Hortensia, and Carmen hugged as if they'd been friends forever. "Buena suerte," good luck, they said to one another. We'll stop right there because we have a solution to the problem. In box 4B, we would write, Mama and Carmen become friends because of their similar hardships in life, and they wish each other luck in the future. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. For the paragraph, you would write, what is Esperanza's attitude toward her new life in California? Think about how Esperanza responds to Miguel and how Esperanza responds to her mother's new friend. That should help you figure out how she's feeling about moving.